Whenever I tell someone I make wedding cakes for a living, the first thing that they say is, "Oh my God, you must work with so many bridezillas." And you know what? I actually don't. You know why? Because I screen them out. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you how I do it. Hi, I'm Jenny, and I teach wedding cake makers how to be better business owners. And this is our weekly wedding cake business tip. And we're going to talk about red flags today and how to identify problem clients that might, take a little bit of extra care. Okay, so the first one is the client that gives you too many restrictions. This is the one in the first email, the first inquiry before you've even met. They tell you how they met, how they got engaged, send you a million pictures, mood boards, Pinterest boards, links to pictures that they like, and ask you a million questions. Now, you can work with this client, but just be prepared to be restricted, meaning, as artists, we do our best work when we're able to create freely. And this client is probably going to give you a little bit of trouble in just designing and just having really high expectations and just wanting to have too much control. And it's kind of a lack of respect, which the part that I don't like. It's the lack of respect and a lack of trust. And what happens again is, like, we feel restricted, and then we can't do our best work, and then we're always on edge being nervous about what they're going to be upset about. So that's the first one. The second one is the one that asks for a discount. Now, of course, I've had people ask me for a military discount or something like that, which I don't give any discounts because I don't think it's fair to the people that pay full price, but that's another story. But this is the person that asks for a discount and for no reason. Okay, so this is the person, they already don't trust you. Like, they already don't value what you're offering. We want the people that are open-minded, that come in and want to see our value. So this is another one. And again, you can work with these people, but you just have to make sure that you have control and that you are not going to cave to anybody asking to nickel and dime you. And this might be the couple or the client that you might have to chase down to get paid, or you might not get paid, or they might want a refund or complain about something and want money back. So that's another one to watch out for. The third one is someone who is asking you to change your policies. So this one is pretty serious, and this one I would just say be very, very careful if you take on a client like this. This is someone who maybe wants to rewrite your contract. And I've had this happen several times where people will want to put something in a contract. Maybe their father's an attorney or something like that. That's usually the case. And you know what? I'm sorry. I took a lot of time drafting my contract and putting my policies in place. I'm not going to work with, just to take another wedding, I'm not going to work with someone who doesn't respect that. Again, that's a lack of respect and an invasion on your boundaries. So be very, very careful when you work with a client like this, if you do, because it's just, it's total red flag. This is a very serious one, because you could come out of it with a lawsuit and not even be aware. So that's another one. And then rude behavior, just in communication or when you're meeting them. Oh my goodness, I had a client. They came in. It was a couple, and they came in with their baby, and they were both like, he was handsome, she was beautiful, and their little baby was so cute. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, why can't my life be like this, right? So they sit down, and he was so incredibly rude, to the point where I could tell that she was so nice, trying to make up with it for him because she was so embarrassed by his behavior. And I actually tried to not fire them, but I tried to tell them, I'm not sure I want to work with you. So they came in for the tasting, and I was sketching up something on their form as we're talking. He got up, walked around my kitchen, got a Sharpie out of my desk area, like went behind my counter and got a Sharpie from my desk area, sat down, took the paper away from me that I was sketching on, and started drawing on it. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me right now? So I just kind of went with it because, he was a little intimidating. He was also trashing other wedding cake vendors to me and accusing them of taking kickbacks from planners and things like that. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy is a disaster. Like, I don't want to work with these people. And then else did he do? Oh my gosh, he started walking around my kitchen and just like started looking at cakes and things like that. And I'm like, okay, this is just weird. So anyway, after the meeting, they seemed really happy and everything, and I was a little nervous about taking this one. And then they sent me an email and accused me of using, I know it was him, not her, accused me of using lard in my buttercream. like, and that's when I wrote back and I said, no, I can assure you, you tried the samples. No, it's a Swiss meringue buttercream. It's made with Cabot butter. It's a French style butter that I use and all the things. But there was no reason why I should have had to defend myself. And then he came back at me again and he's like, are you sure? And I said, you know what? I don't think this is going to be a good working relationship. I think you should find someone else to work with. And I just said, and I hadn't taken their deposit yet or anything like that. And I said, I don't think that we should work together. I want you to find someone that you trust and that you're comfortable with. So that went on the way. Oh, and then they came back and they were like, no, it was her. She came back and she's like, oh my gosh, no, we really love your work. We would love you to work on the wedding. And then I was nervous for months because now I had a couple of months to go before the wedding. And everything worked out fine, but I was on edge the whole time because I thought this guy was going to be trouble. So that was crazy. That was probably the worst like in-person experience I've ever had in a tasting. It was just crazy. So just be careful when you find a lack of respect, like in an email or something like that, where someone is not speaking to you in just a cordial way. Just be aware. And again, you can take on these clients. I'm never going to tell anyone not to work with someone, but just be careful, okay? And then the last one is the person that has the unrealistic expectations. Now this one's tricky and it's not always easy to pick up on because it kind of snowballs. Like it starts off small. So you might get like an uneasy feeling in your gut when you get someone that maybe they want to bring extra people to their tasting. Fine, that's totally fine. Let's do that. Okay, so then it's like, can we have another meeting? And then it's like, can you make me another sample? Can we have a conference call? This is the one that all of a sudden now you're doing all this extra stuff and you kind of don't know why you're doing it, if you know what I mean. So it builds, it snowballs, and this one again is a little tricky to pick up on. And you can work with these people, but just be prepared that you're going to have to do a little bit of extra work. And honestly, there are enough great people out there to work with that you don't have to work with bullies. You don't have to work with someone that doesn't respect your boundaries or your policies. And honestly, once you start getting used to saying no and to pick up on it, you'll be fine. It's a little hard in the beginning. Once you break the seal, it's a little bit easier. So I will tell you a story. This happened just a couple years ago. I got a call from a client and she was having her wedding at one of my favorite venues, one of the most beautiful venues in my area, and one that I work at all the time. And I didn't really get, a big feeling from her, but she kept saying that she wanted to see my contract before we even met. And I'm like, I don't know why. I don't know why you want to see my contract, and I don't feel comfortable with that. So this went back and forth a few times, and I kept saying no, and she kept asking me, and I kept saying no. And then finally, and I've never done this, I called the coordinator of the venue, and I just said, hey, listen, I'm getting a little bit of an uneasy feeling with this couple. Let me know what you think. And she said, oh yeah, they're very, they have high expectations. They're asking for a lot of redos and a lot of, extras. And yeah, so, and I said, you know what? I said, I don't feel comfortable taking this wedding. And, it's hard for us to refuse work. We're trying to make a living, right? But it wasn't worth it. Well, this is what happened. she ended up working with a few other vendors that I knew, and no one could stand the bride. Nobody. She put everyone through hell for months and months and months, to the point like I knew everyone was talking about her. Nobody wanted to work with her. And this is the thing, like, people like this don't understand that we're not going to do our best work if you're giving us a hard time, and no one's going to be happy at the wedding. You know what I mean? Because like, we're not, we're a team. We all want to work together, and we all want to make everything, we, of course, we're professionals, and we're going to give the bride our best work, but like, we're not going to be happy about it, and you're not going to get like that extra special service, that we can give just from being nice people. The things that people don't pay for anyway. You know what I mean? The things that happen behind the scenes that we all do, that's a little bit extra. So she's not getting that. And you know what? And so yes, everyone dreaded her wedding. Everybody was miserable. All the vendors were miserable up until the day. And you know what? It rained on her wedding day. And I mean, like, hurricane force winds. It was terrible. And it was an outdoor wedding at this beautiful venue on the beach. So there's your karma. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. So be very careful when you're reading your emails. If you have that gut feeling, just go with it and be prepared and trust that feeling. And if you can refuse work, it's okay. It's your business. You can run your business any way that you want. You can work with anyone that you want to. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, so thank you so much. I will see you next week. Bye.